but I want to start with the Philadelphia Eagles, Ricky Bo, because their offensive coordinator search continues, and a couple of big names look like they are off the board. The name that Ricky Bo wanted from the jump, Mike McDaniels, is taking the offensive coordinator job with the L.A. Chargers. So did he choose Justin Herbert over Jalen Hurts? Did he choose Jim Harbaugh, the brother, over Nick Sirianni? And now Brian Dable, reportedly, who interviewed with the Eagles yesterday, would prefer the Tennessee Titans coordinator job or the Buffalo Bills head coaching job. And it had me thinking, well, how desirable is this Eagles job? And if it's not desirable, what are the biggest red flags with it? So, Ricky Bo, you're one of the hottest names in the NFL right now as a coordinator. You have your choice. You could go anywhere you wanted, and the Philadelphia Eagles are rolling out the Brinks truck for you. What's making you reluctant to take that job, if anything?
In all honesty, I think it's uncertainty. That would be my biggest problem. I know what you're looking for. I know you're looking for maybe Jalen or maybe Sirianni. But in all honesty, what kind of turns me off a little bit is, okay, we saw the offensive line last year. They weren't very good. As a matter of fact, it was more physical than anything else. It was not the same group that we have seen the past couple of years. You have a guy in Lane Johnson where there's question marks up in the air right now. Okay, so that's part of your offensive line. You've had injuries on the offensive line, and you got a guy in Dallas Goedert who is a question mark right now because he's become a free agent. This guy had 12 touchdowns in the regular season this past season, okay? Now, you want to look even further. You have A.J. Brown, wideout, or do you? Do you see where I'm going with this? There's a lot of question marks on that offense right now. Now, you give me autonomy where I could run the whole offense. I'm not running away. I'm not running away at all. As a matter of fact, you'd have to put your trust in Howie Roseman is what you would have to do in this type of situation. Because if you're coming in with some uncertainty, you better have something in the background that you know this could all be fixed by the time the season starts or by the time training camp starts. And I think Howie can do that and probably will do that one way or the other with whatever's going on with the Eagles right now with the guys that I've just brought up. Now, I guess secondary, you're going to look at the quarterback. And you could do whatever you want. If you have 2 or 3 possible job opportunities, that quarterback is going to weigh in fairly large. And you know what? We have heard from other teams have said it. We've heard other teams say predictable offense is what they run in Philadelphia. And a lot of this is now starting to point to Jalen Hurts. So, yeah, I would be a little bit skeptical as to what he could bring to the table, but I would also take it as a challenge that I could make him a better quarterback.
It's interesting, and you make a lot of good points there, especially when you talk about the uncertainty with the roster and the offensive line. But it is interesting because there is a massive risk-reward opportunity for whoever gets that coordinator position because we've now seen 4 different coordinators. 2 of them fired. 2 of them head coaching jobs, right? Steichen does a good job. He's the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. Kellen Moore does a good job. He's the head coach of the New Orleans Saints. Kevin Patullo and Brian Johnson, not only do they lose their job, Kevin Patullo's house is getting egged by idiot fans because they all blame the offensive coordinator for everything. So there is a big risk-reward opportunity for whoever gets the job. But when I look at the red flags, and I've thought about this long and hard, and I know Nick Sirianni has his issues, and I know Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman love to have a lot of control, maybe more control than is used to being around the league from the owner and the GM. Usually the head coach maybe has a little bit more of say in that situation. I keep coming back to the quarterback. I do keep coming back to Jalen Hurts as being a major red flag because, like you said, Ricky, it is a challenge. You are being put into an offense where every season that Jalen Hurts has been the starting quarterback, you have been in the bottom third of the NFL in pass attempts. That is a unique situation. You can't come here. Kellen Moore came here last year, and even though they had all that success and they win the Super Bowl, he was a guy who was used to, when he was with the Dallas Cowboys, being in the top of the league in passing. His issue with Mike McCarthy was Kellen Moore didn't run the ball enough. And then he comes here, and now you're 32nd in pass attempts. because you are forced to change your offense to fit the quarterback. I do believe, as much as we love Jalen Hurts because he's a proven winner and he's a Super Bowl MVP, I think he is the major red flag because he's a major X factor. You come here, you don't know if you're going to be able to run the offense you want to run. You may not be able to do what Mike McDaniel would normally want to do, and he chose to go to L.A. for a host of reasons, but one of them has to be Justin Herbert.
You know what's funny? You kind of just hit the nail on the head, and the reason why I'm going to say that is you're talking about giving somebody complete autonomy coming in here, which means they're going to be able to run the offense the way they want to run it. But is that necessarily true with what you just said? You know that you have to run the football to make Jalen effective. Okay, so what if you're a coordinator that likes to pass the football, throw the football around, kind of get it to certain people in certain times, run the slants, do a little bit of this, a little bit of that? Are you kind of with your hands tied behind your back walking in here? That to me is something I would question myself if I'm an offensive coordinator looking to come in here. Would you not question that?
Absolutely.
Would you think to yourself, well, my offense isn't going to work here because I can't throw the ball 30 to 35 times in a game because it's proven that it doesn't work for this Eagles team and the roster that they have. So to me, I think that would be another thing that kind of ties your hands. And that's the last thing you want if you're getting complete control of the offense because, as you said, it's kind of a win-lose situation jumping into this job. You have a bad year, and you're in trouble. You have a good year, well, that's what you were supposed to do, right? And I just don't know how attractive this thing is right now.
Yeah, and it's a little telling. Now, McDaniel doesn't want to come here. He wants to go to L.A. I could get behind that.
How far down the ladder are they going to have to go? And I told you, a guy like Charlie Weiss Jr. may have loved taking this job and then realize, wait a minute, why is Mike McDaniel not wanting to go there? Why does Brian Daboll not want to go there? You don't think his mind starts to kind of wander and say, now I have to look a little bit deeper into this? And I'm not just saying Weiss in general. I'm saying anybody else that were behind these guys waiting in line.
Now, look, I can see Mike McDaniel. I think his wife is from the West Coast.
From L.A., yes.
Yeah, he's a West Coast guy. He
likes the warm weather, as we know.
Yeah, I can understand that. Brian Daboll preferring the Tennessee Titans and Cam Ward over the Eagles and Jalen Hurts.
That's a little sketchy.
Now, that's an interesting one. Now, Mike Florio, who ProFootballTalk.com, NBC football, he's on the Sunday night broadcast. He was on the station last week with Johnny Marks. And he talked about what we're saying, though, that this risk-reward, where it's almost you have success, you're a head coach. You don't have success, you're fired looking for a job. Here was Florio last week on Middays with Marks. I think.
We are frozen right now, so let me see if I can fix that.
You want me to talk like I'm Mike Florio right now?
Should we button up for Chris Sims? You be Chris Sims. I want you to button all the way up.
All the way up like this.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, Bill.
Yeah, he buttons all the way.
I hate the Eagles. That would be him.
But look, Chris Sims has been a hater on Jalen Hurts for a while.
Yes, he has not liked Jalen Hurts for a while.
And listen, I am sure there are people out there with me saying that I think Hurts is the biggest red flag who are going to come after me and call me a hater. Not being a hater. I'm being as honest as I could possibly be when you look at this job. And I know not everyone is a Nick Sirianni fan, but if you're going to get total autonomy, what does the head coach really matter? It's the quarterback that you have to be concerned about. Can I run my offense with this quarterback? But when we talk about risk-reward, Silvana was able to fix it. You see how good she is? She fixed it on the fly.
On top of the game.
Like that. Here was Mike Florio talking risk-reward.
It's risk-reward. You have an opportunity. It's like walking a high wire. You have an opportunity if you can get to the other side to be a head coach, but also there's a chance you're going to fall off. And if I'm going to take that job, I want to do a full dive. I want to sit down and talk. I want to understand how we got to where we are, what went wrong in 2023 and 2025, and how we finally fix it. It can't just be a Band-Aid. There's a deeper fix that's necessary.
All right, so I don't disagree with Florio sitting down and trying to figure out, okay, why did things go wrong in 23? Why did things go wrong in 25? Why in 2024 were you 32nd in pass attempts? But what if the answer, Ricky, is, well, we have a quarterback that we can't throw the ball more than 30 times. All right, I'm out.
Then you're walking out the door. I mean, in all reality, if let's say you're sitting down with Sirianni and Roseman, and Sirianni's like, One thing you need to know is that, nothing over 30 passes in a game unless it's in dire need. Really? Yeah, really. See you later, Nick.
Yeah.
I mean, what else are you supposed to do? Basically, they're saying here's the offense, but there are specifications that you have to follow. So it's in the fine print. Right? No passes, no more than 30 passes in a game. You must rush at least 23 times in a game, blah, 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 blah. Oh, by the way, Jalen can't run over 9 times anymore either. How would you feel about that? And by the way, you don't think this runs through all these OCs' heads? I saw this at the end of the season. Why wasn't Jalen Hurts? Would you not ask that question?
Yeah, why isn't Jalen Hurts running the ball? Why have you been in the bottom of the NFL in pass attempts over the last few seasons? Right? I mean, these all have to be questions.
Well, they're questions that you have to ask because you're going to be the one trying to sort this out and make sure that you have a specific thing that you want to do in a game. And if they're telling you that, well, you know what, Jalen got his bell rung earlier in the season, so we had to kind of back off of that. We have to be very careful that he's not hurt for the rest of the season. So let's take out the Jalen rushes here and let's talk about something else, okay? I don't want to talk about Jalen rushing the ball. What else do you have for us? That was about it.
All right, what about this question? A.J. Brown, what's the root of his unhappiness? Oh, well, he doesn't think the quarterback is good enough to get him the ball.
That won't work.
I mean, there are some red flags here. As much as we want to put our head in the sand and act like this is the most coveted job in the entire NFL because we're Philadelphia fans, there are some red flags. And I am curious. I want to hear from our people on the text board. What would you say is the biggest red flag as OCs look at this job? Is it the quarterback? Is it the head coach? Is it the front office structure? Or do you think, no, you guys are wrong. There are no red flags. This is a great job. Hit us up on the text board. Send your voice memos.
And I just brought up the other one with the roster.
The roster, too.
You don't know. In all reality, you do not know what you have going into next year right now.
Yeah, so send them in, 610-632-0975. I'm right there with you, Ricky. Now, there's a guy that I don't always agree with, and that's Emmanuel Acho, who does the speakeasy with LaShawn McCoy. And sometimes when he talks, I cringe. But there's a video of him circulating on social media talking about Mike McDaniel choosing the L.A. Chargers over the Eagles and who that is an indictment on. Listen to Emmanuel Acho.
Mike McDaniel taking the Chargers OC job, huge indictment on Jalen Hurts. Because if you're an offensive coordinator and you want to get a head coaching job instantaneously, the Eagles are the surest path. Kellen Moore, head coaching job. Shane Steichen, head coaching job. Eagles are a feeder system to a head coaching job. So why the hell would you not want to go coach the best offensive roster in football? The only reason that I could suggest is if you have questions or concerns about how you will be limited based upon the quarterback.
Okay, so I push back a little on Acho because there's other reasons that Mike McDaniel would want to go to L.A. You just talked about it. The West Coast weather being one of them. I mean, look, we're about to have a damn blizzard this weekend, and he's going to be out in warm, sunny L.A. So there's other reasons. But where I do agree with Acho is that I believe that Mike McDaniel, and now we're hearing Brian Daboll as well, are looking at the quarterback situation as being a part of the reason why they would want to go somewhere else. They don't want to have to limit their offense. It doesn't mean Jalen can't be successful. It doesn't mean Jalen hasn't been successful. He's got a Super Bowl ring, for God's sakes. He's got an MVP from a Super Bowl. But we would be lying to ourselves if we didn't look at the history of Jalen Hurts as a starting quarterback from 2021 through this past season and not see that there are certain limitations to the offense because of who your quarterback is.
And the thing that's scary there is then you have to go with a similar offense that they've been running, which includes the Kellen Moore era, which includes now Patullo era. You have to kind of go with a similar type offense, just different looking, doing maybe some different things pre-snap and this and that, but you have to kind of follow a rule book, a playbook already. I mean, to me, I guess I would kind of look at it and say, yeah, that's not attractive to me right now, especially if I'm a big name that's already made a name for themselves, Brian Daboll, Mike McDaniel. These guys have a name. They have a big name around the NFL, and they don't want to come in and basically be dictated on what they need to do for an offense if they have complete autonomy.
Yeah, look, I gave these numbers yesterday on Brian Daboll. Once I really dove deep into his history as an offensive coordinator / head coach, I was not overly impressed. I mean, outside of 2 years with Josh Allen, Dable was in the bottom of the NFL in points scored, bottom of the NFL in passing yards. And I get it. He had some question marks at quarterback throughout those years. But the 2 years he has with Josh Allen, where they're tops in the league, in the top 5, even after he left, the Buffalo Bills remained in the top 5 of the NFL in several categories. So I wasn't that thrilled with Dable. Mike McDaniel was a guy I could get behind. But if the goal was to bring in a coordinator that was going to have complete autonomy and completely revamp this offense, I think a lot of the top candidates are choosing to go elsewhere. So now what are you going to be left with? And it's going to be interesting, because are they going to have to settle for an OC that maybe hasn't called plays before? Is it still going to be a blending of the offensive schemes? And a lot of people immediately go to Sirianni. And I know there's going to be a lot of you who are going to hit us up on the text board who blame Nick. It is just very interesting that through 4 different coordinators now with the quarterback, not saying you can't have success, but you have had to run a lot different of an offense. I mean, Kellen Moore is the prime example, though, Ricky. I mean, in Dallas, you look at that guy's numbers when he was with Dak Prescott and the Cowboys, and they threw the ball like crazy. They had one of the best passing offenses in the entire NFL. And then he comes here, and it's 32nd in pass attempts. That is by design.
But you're also talking about 2 different beasts. Dak Prescott, I know a lot of people say, well, he's never won the big game. It hasn't really been his fault. I mean, for the most part, this guy puts up numbers every single year. Does Jalen do that passing-wise? The answer is no, not every year. No.
And listen, and Silvana's saying people are disappointed on the text board that I'm saying Jalen Hurts is a red flag. Listen, you don't have to even listen to me. Listen to your star wide receiver. I'm saying listen to the star wide receiver. Listen to what A.J. Brown has said, going back now for a couple of years, on why he has not been happy. And then we had Santa Liquido on earlier on Friday telling us that A.J. Brown's frustration was because he doesn't believe that Jalen Hurts can get him the football in the passing game. And again, we would be naive to think that it is only A.J. Brown who is frustrated. A.J. Brown is the one that publicly come out and speaks about it, which I have a problem with. But make no mistake, there are other people on that offense who need to get the football in the passing game who are just as frustrated as A.J. Brown is. Like, this is not us creating a storyline that doesn't exist. There is a reason why coordinators might be reluctant to come here and work with Jalen. There's a reason why A.J. Brown and other offensive receivers are frustrated with Jalen. He has limitations. We've talked about this. It doesn't have to be this bright line where you're either all in on Jalen or you hate Jalen. There's a gray area in the middle where Jalen Hurts you can acknowledge as a winner. You can acknowledge he does very good things, and you can have success with him. But he also has limitations, and I don't think that is a hot take. I don't think that is rage bait. That is just reality. But
every quarterback, I'll do this quick, every quarterback has their limitations. Jalen's are just different than others.
I agree with you 100%.